Hey guys, Mike here from Lunch Money Comics. I am back in Putnam, Connecticut, hoping to check out one of the antique stores, and then afterwards, I'm gonna check out Wonderland Comics and see what I find. Oh boy. Still a pretty good deal. First Frank Miller Daredevil. Pretty sure. Bummer. Okay. It's clean. So I bought some comics at Jeremiah's Antiques, and now I'm off to the comic book store. Let's go check it out.
Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you too. That was weird.
Use my card. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, the dollar one, I think.
$5.15 is only $10. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw it. Oh, no.
What? Wow. Cool. What an awesome store. I was in there so long that it's dark out, but I got one incredible book. I can't wait to go home and show you all the stuff that I got. So there you go, guys. That was my second trip to Putnam, Connecticut. I actually did a video on this town a few months ago where I spoke very highly of these two gigantic, like, indoor antique flea market consignment shops that are packed to the brim with comic books. And I had some pretty good luck at one of them. But I also mentioned in that video that I saw a comic book store called Wonderland Comics. Unfortunately, I didn't really have time to check it out when I was there. I basically walked in, did a 180, and said, wow, this is a cool place. I'll have to come back. So it just so happened to be that I was working kind of close to Putnam, Connecticut. It was right before Christmas, and I was hoping to visit one of those flea markets to do a little bit of, last minute holiday shopping for friends and family and a little bit for myself. And I was already planning on heading down. But it just so happened that coincidentally, one of my viewers who lives in Connecticut visited Wonderland Comics, and he was talking to the owners and said, hey, have you guys seen this YouTuber who mentioned you guys online? And they hadn't seen it. They checked it out, and they ended up contacting me that day on Instagram saying, hey, thank you so much for the shout out. When you come back, let us know. We're actually having a sale right now for the holidays. Pretty cool. I was already planning on heading there. And that same viewer also told me that Jeremiah's Antiques was also having a 20% off sale on all of their comic books. So come on, guys. I don't need any more excuses than that. So I headed down there, got to go to Jeremiah's Antiques first, ended up with 5 comic books, and then headed over to Wonderland and got one really cool comic book for my PC. Before I talk about the comic books, though, as usual, if you like this sort of stuff, go down, hit the like button, leave me a comment. I love reading through them, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Okay, first up, you guys know I love my X-Men books, and I love all other affiliated X-Men titles. I love collecting first appearances of X-Men and the first appearances of X-Men villains, and that's exactly what this one is. This is the New Mutants number 9 from 1983, written by Chris Claremont, and this issue here is the first appearance of the villain Selene Gallio, aka the Black Queen, and Selene has a really cool claim to fame. She is the oldest mutant in the Marvel Universe. She is over 17,000 years old. She actually dates back to the Hyborian age, the same age that like Conan the Barbarian and Red Sonja are in. And she can do that because she is a psychic vampire. She feeds on the life forces of other people, and that makes her life longer. She's also a very powerful sorceress in her own right, and she ends up joining the Hellfire Club at one point, thus the moniker the Black Queen. I think Selene is a great X-Men villain. I don't think she's utilized enough. Whenever she does show up, though, she definitely makes a big impact. She's very conniving, very intelligent, very Machiavellian, and she's very spiteful and vengeful. One interesting thing that I found out recently while reading about the Black Queen was that Kate Beckinsale's character from those Underworld films, those like werewolf and vampire films from the early 2000s, Evidently, her character is loosely based off of Selene from Marvel Comics. Honestly, other than the name, I don't see much of a similarity at all, but evidently there were discussions way back then of having a crossover between Kate Beckinsale's Selene and Wesley Snipes' Blade. I think we can all be thankful that that film was never made, but regardless, in the comic books, she is still a fantastic character. This comic book here was listed at $6. You add in the 20% discount, and it ended up being a little under $5 for me. It's in excellent shape, so for about $4.80, I think, this is a great addition to my collection and to my first appearances of X-Men villains. Oh man, this next book is awesome, guys. So I get a lot of questions in my YouTube comments. And, I promise to do a question and answer video at some point in time. I'll get around to it. But one of the questions I get all the time is from like new collectors who are getting into the hobby. And they're like, hey, what should I collect? What should I get first? What will get me into it? And my answer is always the same. Collect what you like, collect what interests you, what kind of gets you engaged. That's obviously the right choice. But, thinking about it a little bit more, what I think constitutes a good comic book is it has a great story, great interior art, and a great cover that catches your attention. It also helps if it's like a sort of a key issue or has some sort of historical significance. This book here checks all those boxes and in spades. This is Silver Surfer #1, but volume 2. I've also heard it called the Silver Surfer one-shot, and that's because this isn't really a new volume of Silver Surfer. It is just a single issue that was put out in 1982. First of all, let's talk about this cover. Amazing cover by John Byrne, who also did the interior art. John Byrne is my favorite artist, and look at this cover, guys. It's amazing. And what I love most about it, there's no barcode, there's no like direct edition. It's just, almost like a full cover art comic book back before they did full cover arts. Amazing cover of Silver Surfer. But the story is written by Stan Lee, and what it consists of is Silver Surfer sort of reflecting on his history and his relationship with the Fantastic Four, and then Reed Richards finds a way to allow the Silver Surfer to escape Earth. He had been confined there by Galactus, and, Reed Richards gives him an opportunity to leave Earth, and he races back to his home planet to try to find his lost love. Super cool comic book, guys. So this had a sticker price of $9. So with the discount, I got it for a little over $7. You can do a lot worse when hunting for comic books for $7. I feel like this comic book is a little bit underrated, actually. I think, like, whether you are a veteran collector or just getting into the hobby, this book just has an amazing story, amazing art, fantastic cover presence. I think it's a worthy addition to anyone's collection. Let me know down in the comments, guys, those of you who are familiar with this book, if you agree with me. But I think the Silver Surfer one-shot is a very underappreciated book, and I'm very happy to add it to my collection. Oh man, another cool book coming up, guys. So I actually saw this comic book the first time I was in Putnam, Connecticut, but at the time, although I was interested, I couldn't justify the $17 price tag. But this time, with a 20% discount, it was a little over $13, and I was happy to pick it up. The book I'm talking about is The Incredible Hulk #198. It's from 1976, written by Len Wein, art by Gil Kane and John Romita Sr. And the claim to fame on this one is it's a team up between The Incredible Hulk and Man-Thing. Man-Thing is super popular right now, guys. He appeared in the Disney Plus special presentation, Werewolf by Night. He was really cool. People went nuts for him. And I can think of no better, description of this book than a team up between the big green swamp monster and the big green gamma monster. It's in incredible shape. It also has the Marvel value stamp included, so I was happy to pick it up for $13. Now, if the cover isn't endorsement enough, I have a funny story to tell you. So I got home from Putnam, Connecticut, and my 6-year-old daughter met me at the door, and she wanted to know where I was, and I said, I was out hunting for comic books, and she wanted to see what I got. Now, she doesn't know comic book characters that much, so I thought it would be kind of fun to show her these covers and ask her what she thought was going on in each of the covers. So I held this one up and said, what do you think? And she thought for a moment, and she said, I think it's a black spot man fighting a genie. That's actually not that bad. She thought Cannonball looked like a genie. He does. I thought that was really cute. I held this one up. She knows who Silver Surfer is. Without missing a beat, she goes, it's Silver Surfer standing on a rock in space. Spot on. That's exactly what it is. But then I held up this book, and she actually knows who Man-Thing is, because even though Werewolf by Night is way too violent for a 6-year-old, I did show her the end of the movie just so she could see Man-Thing, because I knew she'd think he was cool, and she definitely did. So I showed her this book. She thought for a moment, and she said, I think it's Hulk and Man-Thing fighting bad guys. That's exactly what's going on. Guys, I can think of no better endorsement for getting this book than the word of a 6-year-old little girl. It's a book of Hulk and Man-Thing fighting bad guys. Enough said. For these next two books, we need to go all the way back to 1985. The DC universe is sort of messy. There's lots of different timelines, lots of different iterations of the same character, and yeah, even different Earths. And to some people, it was a little confusing, and editor Marv Wolfman had an idea of unifying the entire DC universe, or multiverse, into one unified universe. And he wanted to do that with a series that, most of you know this already, called Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was a 12-part series, the first big DC crossover, akin to like what Marvel had done with Secret Wars in the year previous to that. The art was done by the incomparable George Perez, and we ended up with a very seminal event. In fact, so many things happen in these books that we often refer to DC Comics, even to this day, as pre-crisis and post-crisis. But among the 12 books, among all the things that happened and the hundreds of deaths, there are two that stand out, and those two books are the ones that are considered like the biggest keys. The first one is this one. This is Crisis on Infinite Earths number 7. And of course, this is the death of Supergirl. You see the amazing George Perez cover of Superman holding the body of his cousin. You know, this cover has been homaged and referenced so many times. It's an incredibly famous book. But the death of Supergirl is only matched by the death in the next book, which is of Barry Allen's Flash. This is number 8. Barry Allen dies in this fighting the Anti-Monitor. And what's cool about this book, it was actually laying on the boxes when I got into the antique place. I thought someone was, buying it, so I didn't really pay much attention to it. But one of the owners came by, asked me if I wanted this book. I said, no, it was just laying there. And they put it back on the shelf. The guy who had wanted it had left. And at that point, I was like, oh, wait, well, now I kind of want it. So I pulled it down and inspected it, and it's in incredible shape. I got this one here. It was listed as $13 with the discount. I got it for about $10, and this one was listed at $20, so I got it for $16. So both of these for, $26. Very happy to do so. My New Year's resolution was to collect more DC and read more DC. So after I started with the 2 big keys, I figured, hey, I'll just fill in the other 10 issues of this run at, flea markets or at comic book stores over the winter. It would be a fun thing to do. They're relatively cheap. I thought it would be kind of a cool thing. But I didn't have to wait very long. Listen, for those of you who follow me on Instagram, by the way, follow me under Lunch Money Comics IG. I may have tipped my hand a little bit. Sometimes I post pictures that are a little ahead of when my videos come out. And I'll just say that I didn't wait very long to fill in the entire series, including a couple more versions of these very books. So I will only say this, follow me on Instagram, but also this may not be the last time you see these 2 books. I think they're going to pop up in a future video and we'll do something really cool with them. So after the antique place, I had a little bit of time to go down to Wonderland Comics before they closed. So yeah, like I said before, I had been there in the past, didn't have enough time to give it due diligence. I had marginally more time this time. So I did get to look around and look at comic books. But I was especially happy to go when I did because I got to meet one of the owners, the very one that had contacted me on Instagram. We had a nice little chat. And also they were having a sale, a 30% off sale on all of their comic books, which is pretty cool. And they have excellent back issues, but they also had lots of really cool wall books. And when you apply that 30%, there were definitely some deals to be had. So I definitely walked around, checked out a lot of their statues, a lot of their toys, a lot of the cool pop culture stuff they have in the store, and then started looking at all of the cool comic books. And there was one comic book that I didn't buy, but you definitely saw it in the footage, and it's worth mentioning. It was a true crime comic book, pre-code, with a really gnarly kind of graphic cover. I'm not really into pre-code horror or any of those graphic covers, but it was definitely notable for sort of how it stands out. I'm not going to show it again. You probably have it seared into your memory from the first time I showed it. I just thought it was really interesting, and if it was a little less stained, I probably would have picked it up. But no, the book I got is no surprise to anybody. I think you guys saw it in the footage. I love me my X-Men. This one was up on the wall. We needed a ladder to get it, and here it is. This is X-Men number 18. This is from 1966, written by Stan Lee, art by Roth, Ayers, and Rosen. And I don't think this is a key as far as I know. It's just a really early X-Men book with an early depiction of Magneto on the cover, doing something to Iceman. You see the very iconic, floating heads you saw a lot in the early to mid 60s on Marvel comic books. So yeah, as far as I know, this is the earliest X-Men book I own, I think. It's a really dark cover, so the color breaks it has sort of shows up, but otherwise it's in fairly good condition. The sticker price on this was $60, so apply that 30% and I got it for $42, which I think is a pretty good deal, but as an X-Men collector, I mean, that's a great deal for adding the earliest X-Men book to my collection, especially based on the condition it's in and the fact it depicts one of the greatest X-Men characters of all time, Magneto right there in the front. Very happy to add this to my X-Men collection. So all in all, I spent only $90 and got 6 excellent books to add to my collection. Head on down to the comments and let me know which one of my pickups you like the best. Is it one of these Marvel books I picked up at the antique store? Love this Silver Surfer cover. Or are you a DC fan and you like Crisis on Infinite Earths? Let me know down in the comments if you've read the series, what you think of it, or specifically what you think of these 2 comic books featuring iconic and tragic deaths. And like I said, this isn't the last time you will see these books on my channel. I promise something cool is coming soon. And definitely let me know if your favorite pickup is this X-Men 18 from 1966 with a very early Magneto cover. Hey, if you are in Connecticut or Rhode Island or South Central Massachusetts, or you're just visiting, you are not too far from Putnam, Connecticut. I'll make sure to put a link down in my description to both locations you saw, Jeremiah's Antiques and Wonderland Comics. This has been Lunch Money Comics. In the meantime, I hope you keep finding comic books in strange and unusual places as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.